Hello and welcome to PodCrash number 21. Got the number right for once.
Yeah.
Today is a CrossFit special because next week we're going to have more cycling episodes than we've ever had. So I'm here to welcome Samantha Briggs and Emma McQuaid. This is an awkward bit where no one ever says hi, but say hi.
Hi.
So we'll delve into the introductions a little bit more in just a second. But yeah, so we'll talk about next week, Phil, quickly.
Yeah, so we've got a pop-up in Yorkshire, the Road World Championships. We're not selling coffee, we're giving free coffees away.
Crucially for insurance, we're giving coffee away.
We're giving coffee away. Lamazocco has kindly sponsored us a coffee machine. North Star Coffee Roasters in Leeds giving us coffee. And Tampa supporting us as well.
Yeah, so we're down by the Prince of Wales roundabout, just opposite the fan zone, 400 metres away from the finish line. We've got a camper. Phil's going to be there most of the time, as his usual cheery self, so come and say hello. And we'll be recording some podcasts there as well, so you might see some special guests coming in and out. So check it out if you can. I've actually got my first ever commercial thing to read out. You know, like kind of top of the advert, like you see on the Jason Nash show. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're sponsored by Temper, a mattress like no other, and if you use code CYCLING100 you get up to £100 off a Temper mattress. So visit www.temper.co.uk. What did you think?
You did that so well.
Yeah.
I've got a feature in the video advertising. Great. That's the highest praise you've ever given me about anything. We won Olympic gold together and you went, no, that's right.
You did all right there.
So yeah, we'll dive into the introductions. So Samantha Briggs is considered the fittest woman on earth in 2013. She's qualified for the CrossFit Games every year, not every year apart from 2014, starting in 2012, is that correct?
I didn't qualify in 2012 because I broke my kneecap.
Ooh.
I've been to the Games since 2010.
Okay.
So 10, 11, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18 and 19.
And we'll get into why just getting to the CrossFit Games is quite an impressive feat to start with. And then we've also got Emma McQuaid, who you'll be able to tell by the accent is from Northern Ireland, not far away from where I was born in Glasgow. But yeah, so she is the first Irish woman to qualify for the CrossFit Games. It was actually at Gold Coast Commonwealth Games for the Northern Irish team in weightlifting, which is pretty interesting as well. So we might have actually walked past each other at the food hall at some point and not realised you were there to start with. So I guess like a first bit to kick off is like most of our listeners are probably more used to Olympic sports and specifically cycling. If you two could like describe CrossFit to someone in 2 sentences, how would you describe it?
Well, you can have the proper CrossFit description, or how we like to say it's just functional fitness, and basically it's a combination of any sort of fitness that you can imagine thrown into one long week of competing. Competitions range from like 3 to 5 days, and we can have up to like 15 or 16 events, and the events aren't defined, so you have to train for everything.
And so when is it? So the events that you're given, like, because I think most of the cyclists would be aware of when CrossFit tried cyclocross, and people crashed pretty much every obstacle. But like, how much notice do you get before you know the event that you're going to be doing?
Sometimes it's not until before the event.
Really?
Yeah.
And the variety of the different events, like what's the weirdest one that has ever been described to you guys?
The weirdest one, I think. We did one where the arena had different weight sandbags up the side. So you had to jump over the wall, bring all the sandbags down from one side of the arena, fill a wheelbarrow, run to the other side of the arena, throw the bags over the wall at that side, and then carry the bags all to the top as fast as you could.
Oh, so it goes from like established sports to something that's totally made up?
Yeah.
And then you've got the core exercises as well, or is it all?
No. That was just one event of 15 that year. So that was basically, if you're fit enough for life, it's like people have to carry stuff and move stuff around. So it was kind of simple in its like methodology, but for you to race against, like, there was 40 people on, so you're racing against 39 other females to be the fastest one to get all these bags down onto the other side, and the wall at the other side was high. So you had to be strategic how you got the bags over, because there were some light bags and some heavy bags. So the smart people piled the light bags up so that they were taller to like push the heavy bags over, because the heavy bags were too heavy to throw. But then you saw some people who had got the light bags over first, and then they were stuck with these heavy bags, not able to get them over. So there was some tactical elements to it. But then you have the traditional things, like it could be a 1 rep max snatch or clean and jerk, or it could be one of the power lifts. But then they can also be thrown in, not just on the run, they could be with other elements. So you may have to run with it, not run with a bar, but you maybe multiple rounds. So for example, one of the events this year at the games, it was 4 rounds of, you had a 600-meter run. You had to do 3 legless rope climbs, and then 7 squat snatches at 60 kilos for the females and 80 or 85 for the males. So it wasn't exactly a light barbell, but you were testing your metabolic pathways by having to run the gymnastics of the legless rope climbs and then like squat snatching under fatigue.
So I'm keen to dive in as to how both of you actually found yourself doing CrossFit, because I guess as an Olympic athlete, it seems like it's burst onto the scene and just got more and more popular as the years have gone on. So obviously, like you came to it quite late, I guess.
Late in age, but early in years
the beginning
of the sport development.
Yeah, and Emma, I believe you used to be a weightlifter, I guess, as well.
No, I used to be a quad racer.
Oh, no. Wow. Okay.
So I started CrossFit to get fit for quad racing.
Okay.
And then obviously it just developed into being my actual main sport in quad racing.
So how did it work? How did you find yourself going to the Commonwealth Games doing weightlifting then, and now being back in CrossFit?
I never stopped CrossFit. I just got to the Commonwealth through CrossFit. The weightlifting for me would probably be like a stronger point. It came to me quicker than the gymnastics, so just kind of capitalized on that and qualified, went for it.
Cool. And Sam, we've heard that you were previously a firewoman or fireman or however, fireperson.
Firefighter,
yeah, that's the best word. But I guess something I want to ask on that is basically like you've always been into sport, so you've always done like football or any kind of thing to keep active. Basically, that's always been a part of your life.
Yeah, I did a lot of multiple sports growing up. Football was my main sport, and it was when I moved to Manchester that I retired from football, and I was just looking for something to fill that void. So I used to play 5-a-side 2 or 3 times a week, training twice a week, and then matches on a Sunday. So all of a sudden I had all this time on my hands, and so I started running for a club. I started running for Salford.
Okay.
And then with some of the boys that I worked with, they convinced me to start doing a few amateur triathlons, and so started doing triathlons, did pretty well, qualified age group in both triathlons and duathlons. And somebody recommended doing CrossFit to get stronger for the triathlons. Discovered I was better at CrossFit than I was tries, so pursued CrossFit.
What were you like on the bike in the triathlons?
I would say I'm a lot better now on the bike than I was at the time. I'd say now I'm a stronger cyclist. I would always come out of the water pretty much last, pick a few people up on the bike, but the run was my stronger point.
Because you're hitting some decent numbers on the bike. Like when I see your Instagram, you're hitting like 280 watts for 20 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, the last time I did the test, it was like 3 weeks ago. I got 279 for the 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and you had I was listening to another podcast you were on, and you said like if you're going through the kind of chronology of your life, sport was always a major part, but you had like a party angle as well.
Yeah.
I'm quite keen to ask a little bit about that, because I think one of the things that a lot of the athletes in our team struggle with is that they get picked up straight out of school. And when we first moved down, we were based in Fallowfield, which is like student central. So you've basically got every vice you could possibly want surrounding you in this kind of athlete setup. And I think some athletes probably sometimes get to the end of their career and resent that they didn't have that kind of youthful party phase. So how do you think about it, like looking back? Do you think that's made you a more rounded athlete, that you've had that phase, I guess?
It's hard to say. I always think that I would have liked to have found CrossFit or found a sport where I could have excelled as well as I have in CrossFit younger. But then I wouldn't have had the experiences that I did have, which has ultimately shaped me. And like now I can like wholeheartedly like dedicate my time to training, and I don't really have that envy of people going out and stuff anymore because I have been through that. So there's two sides of it really, because I am coming to the end of my career span. So if I had have started younger, could have gone longer with it. But then at the same time, I've lasted 10 years in this sport. So that could have been because I've already had the years of partying, and I'm not tempted to do that.
It's the same as Chris Hoy, because he went to uni, had his like party times, and he started getting proper into cycling like professionally. And he was 27 or something. Is when he won his first World Championships, and then his career lasted until he was 36. So
no, I've retired at 26.
26.
But so how does that? So obviously you've got two gyms, and you get a lot of younger athletes coming through. What advice do you give to athletes who maybe have a bit of that craving for that student lifestyle but still want to be successful at CrossFit? Do you say like you have to go off and switch off, or is it just drilled in focus like we are kind of told at the British cycling team?
I think it's finding a balance, because if you're going to be resenting your training, you're not going to be putting in the full effort. So like one of the boys who's going to be training with us tomorrow, like he has the potential to be like a really good athlete, but he still goes out every now and again and parties. But then he gets that out of his system. He'll go out, he'll have a really good night, and then the next day he'll feel like absolute shit. but then Monday he'll be back in the gym, and he's like, right, I'm dedicated now, I'm training. So sometimes you need that blowout, and it's about finding that balance for you, I think.
And what do you guys do to like switch off? Because obviously, like before we came on air, you guys were tucking into some meal prep and all that kind of stuff. It seems like a really kind of regimented lifestyle, probably much more than Phil's is as a current Olympic athlete. Yeah. Are you going to admit that?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So, given that you've got that previous kind of life before, do you find that you can commit 100% to the gym, or do you still need downtime?
Downtime, but in a different sense. I like to read. I like to watch movies. I still like to go out, but it's not very often. It's more for special occasions. It's not like I'm out every weekend.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And I forgot to do something in the intro, which is becoming a bit of a podcast habit, which is finding out what you bench compared to Phil. Because on the last podcast, we thoroughly embarrassed him because we had a powerlifter on who...
He's old, so it's this profession.
It's your profession.
Not benching.
Yeah, but you've got it in your program twice a week.
Not anymore.
Well, you used to have it.
No. Used to, yeah.
Don't get so defensive. Just let's have it. So can we have the all-time PBs from both of you?
Mine was 93 kilos.
Okay.
Mine was 90.
Okay.
I got 90 for a double in the team series. There's video evidence.
90 for a double?
Yeah.
That's almost at your peak, mate.
I've done 100, but I'm probably also weigh a lot more. So it's pretty embarrassing.
No, exactly.
But how much do you squat?
Back squat 130.
Yeah, we've got his back up now.
I've got it covered.
Don't play along here. So I guess something I'd like to ask is like, so obviously, Sam, you got into CrossFit like in the early days, and I think like, don't take offense to this, but looking from the outside, it seems like CrossFit for a little while struggled for like legitimacy, and maybe Emma, you can pick up on this a little bit from like a weightlifting point of view. CrossFit was always kind of like laughed at a little bit and not really taken that seriously, like either for kind of bad form, or yeah, I guess maybe just bad form was the main one in terms of memes I've seen online and things like that. Would you agree? Phil?
Like lifting form, yeah.
Yeah. But now it seems to have like really carved out its place as like a legitimate, like really super competitive sport. Like, how did that feel coming into the early days of kind of CrossFit and being, maybe you're not aware, but possibly being aware of what other people were saying about the sport at that point?
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. When something new comes along, there's always going to be that questionable is it going to last, or is it a fad? And especially a lot of the memes that get posted, like some of the videos that are on there aren't even like CrossFitters. They're just stupid people lifting stupidly. But you get that in every sport. People will inevitably look like idiots doing stuff. and they'll go and do stupid things, and you're just like, why? And it's not all CrossFit, but especially in the younger like stages, you would see people like competing who weren't as proficient at the lifts.
Sorry, that was my fault.
But mainly because the sport was in its infancy, so people hadn't had the top coaching and weren't aware. They were just like, okay, I've got to get this weight overhead, and so they'd get it done anyhow. Whereas now you'll see at the games, the level that it is now, you can't get there by lifting like that. You have to have specialist coaches. You have to be able to lift proficiently, just because the number of people now and the monetary prize that's in CrossFit, it's legitimate. You've got people who are doing this now professionally.
Yeah.
So you can't get away with being a shit lifter because you're not going to qualify for the games.
I think one of the really encouraging things from like a growth perspective, especially for female sport, was that it's equal prize money, and I think that's something that a lot of the older sports really need to tighten up on and do a lot better at. But where do you see kind of CrossFit ending up? Do you think does it have ambitions to be an Olympic sport, or is it quite happy to be separate entity?
So there's another like branch that's come off of CrossFit, Functional Fitness Racing Federation, and they're trying to become a Olympic sport, and they have like clearly defined elements which is required to make an Olympic sport, but within those elements the movements or the like rep scheme and stuff can change, which is the element of CrossFit that's still in there. So there's the unknowable part of CrossFit, but the number of events and the type of events and the duration that the events go on for are defined. And so they're working hard to become a governing body for the sport and to hopefully become an Olympic sport. That's kind of their aim. CrossFit itself has no desire to become an Olympic sport. It's separate entity. It is what it is. They're testing all these domains and.
No, for sure. And I want to pull up on something that you said a little bit earlier about the kind of body awareness aspect. Because I was listening to another podcast you did, and you said that you found like gymnastics quite key to actually know what your body's up to. And I think that's something that I've been made a lot more aware of, kind of transitioning out of professional sport and going back into public gyms or public yoga, is that you really understand that a lot of people have no idea what their body's doing at all.
Yeah.
So I guess how would you say gymnastics has kind of impacted that kind of key body awareness?
It was definitely one of the harder elements for me, and I still will like struggle with like parts of gymnastics, just because I spent all of my life on my feet and I kicked a ball around.
Yeah.
So then to have to like go upside down and walk on my hands and stuff, it's still very like alien for me, and it's something that I have to work hard on. And I think like coaching classes and seeing people come in, sometimes it's unbelievable to see how unaware like some people are. You'll demonstrate a movement and they're like doing the complete opposite to what you're doing, and you're bamboozled. You're like,
yeah,
how are you?
Almost like uncoachable at that phase. You need to really drill it back. We kind of found that with our coaching qualifications. Then we had a personal trainer on who used to be a cyclist as well, and she said about having to strip it so far back, where it's just like, imagine you're like sitting on a sofa. And then even further back than that, again, because like my brother's here, so I'm going to take the piss out of him. But he got stuck in a cargo net at Go Ape once, and the instructor was shouting at him, "Move your left arm." And literally, that was the only limb that didn't move. It's like you just see him getting tangled more and more and more. So it's funny to see how like unaware people are. But you do a little bit of kind of coaching as well, and you've got your own gym. So how do you kind of tackle that with someone who's really starting from scratch?
So we have a good team of coaches, so I don't have to. So we run the class that's going on tonight is called the Foundations class, and so they're doing everything but like with a PVC pipe and like a really light med ball and stuff. So they won't progress onto using the barbell and the weights until they actually have a little bit of awareness of like actual movement and where their body like should be. And
that's what I did when I started to snatch. Just use the barbell and a little wooden stick.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's counterproductive because it moves too easy a little bit. I don't know.
But the way that some people move, you like have to.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen the Friends episode when Phoebe's trying to teach Joey to speak French? And she's like speaking French and he's just going blah, 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 blah. Back to you like some people, you demonstrate something or you tell them something and it just looks nothing like you're saying, and it's like you really do. It'd be unsafe to give them a bar that weighs 20 kilos.
Yeah.
You just need them to like become aware of like their body and like in space of time.
Well, some people can't even squat.
Yeah.
Like I PT and like coach sometimes in the gym, and you take them for the induction and you're like, okay, so we're gonna do an air squat.
Don't know what to do.
And they can't do it. And I'm like, just think about sitting on your sofa. And then like they shoot their knees forward and they go sideways and you're like, what? Like you sit every day, you know, it's quite strange.
That's what you're like. You can't squat, can you?
I can squat, I just can't squat much, and it looks dangerous enough that people tell me to stop. But like, I think one of the interesting things is like everyone has the ability to squat when they're younger. So like, if you see a toddler bend down,
it's awesome.
It's
like
the perfect bottom position.
It's great form.
You're like,
and then somewhere in your teens or when you start growing, you completely lose it, I guess. Which
so
is,
much sitting. Like, sitting down is the worst thing for people, and that's why like people who have a 9-to-5 job need a stand-up desk, because if they're sitting for all that time, the amount of damage that they're doing to their body is incredible.
People say sitting's the new smoking, don't they? I guess. Yeah. But on you go.
So when you two started CrossFit or lifting in general, what were you like lifting?
I was probably on one of those memes.
Really?
In fact, I definitely was on a lot of those memes.
So you started like the guys in the gym now, like the foundation classes, you started off like this?
No, because I was a firefighter as well. I did a lot of I did bro sessions with the guys in the firehouse. We'd like look through the men's fitness magazines and pick out workouts, and like, so I was fairly like strong before I started CrossFit. My first CrossFit session, I was doing strict pull-ups and stuff, so I had strict strength there, but regarding like good movement and like we said, body awareness, like my first games, the first event we had to do had squat snatches in, and I couldn't squat snatch the weight properly. I was like powering and trying to like ride down, which was a no rep. So like the first event at the games was like my 1 rep max that I was meant to do like 20 odd reps with, compared to like now that weight's like nothing. But it took a while, and definitely in my first few years in CrossFit, my movement mechanics were nowhere near where they should have been. And it took me being injured in 2012 when I had the knee injury that we stripped everything back and started working with a movement coach, and then I came back a lot better and a lot more aware.
I'm glad it worked for you, because I've stripped things back so many times. Like, probably in my career we did it about 10 times. Strip back the squat and start again.
You need to work with James, who's just left.
No, it's too late for me now.
Oh no, it's never too late. Like I said, I didn't start CrossFit until I was 27, and I didn't win the games until I was 31.
Maybe you could win the CrossFit Games.
So
you think it?
Well, no, absolutely not. There's one thing you're not going to win.
Are you willing to change the bet? Because you bet me that if I do a 10 hour 59 Ironman, then you'd give me all of your physical worth.
No, 9 hours,
Material
59 there was, I think.
Was it 9 hours 59?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so if I win the CrossFit Games, is that equal to that?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Thank you. That's
You're not
interesting.
going to win it.
You don't even need to win the CrossFit Games. Let's get you to qualify.
Guys, please. I've got some sporting heritage. But I want to pick up on a little point about branching out, because CrossFit probably breeds... We have a thing in cycling where people become too specific at one thing. So we had a heptathlete move into cycling, and she definitely became less athletic through becoming a cyclist. Like her hamstrings got a lot tighter, she couldn't lift as much, her jump got worse and all that kind of thing. But CrossFit probably breeds that element of branching out into gymnastics and things like that. Phil, we've seen the man one in New Zealand, Ethan Mitchell, apparently doing bits of like ballet and things like that as well. As well as gymnastics, do you have to be quite creative in how to be ready for an event where you essentially don't know what you're going to be doing?
Yeah, I mean, like our training, so we'll have sprint sessions, so we're on the track, we'll have cycling sessions, we'll have swimming sessions, we've got gymnastics, then we've got Olympic lifting, then we've got powerlifting, but then we've got all the strongman elements to it. So that's already like 7 elements that we kind of like bring to our training. And then on top of that, in the run up to the games or run up to big competitions like Dubai, where they can afford to like throw different sorts of events at you, we then need to like think outside the box. Maybe go paddleboarding, maybe get in a boat and try rowing. You never know what they're gonna like throw at you. You can go to events, and I did a competition in Iceland, and we had a mountain run. It was like basically you started at the bottom of the mountain and it was first one up. It was like, okay, let's go. So there's like, depending on where the competition is, you can be like doing anything. We've had pool events where you're swimming in a pool, and then
the ocean in Dubai.
Then the ocean in Dubai. I had a competition in Australia. We had to swim on the Gold Coast there.
Do you not have like mountain biking in there as well at some point?
So they had the mountain bike. I think that was 2012. They did that, and then they had the cyclocross in 2017. They had the crit race where everybody was falling off in 2018.
Did you do the crit race as well?
I competed in the Masters division that year. That was when I had my elbow surgery.
Is this a different? You do different exercises then, or are you doing the same stuff?
No, because the Masters is older, so you get less events, and you're kind of like off to the side. But unfortunately, I had to have elbow surgery just before regionals, so I wasn't able to do regionals to get to the games. So,
given the inconsistency of the events that's thrown at you, like to have consistency in this sport is quite an impressive thing, would you say? I guess so. Like the amount of consistency that you've had is something to shout about, or do you always find the top 5, top 10 don't really change?
You'll find people like new people come in. There's a lot of, especially over the last couple of years, there has been like a consistent, like kind of like top 10. There'll be like one person will come up, and then one will drop down and stuff. I'd say the guys has probably moved around more. Other than the winner, Matt Fraser, the guys probably shuffle around more than the girls with your top 10. But it's one of those things. There's always going to be people kind of aging out or through injury, and new people coming into the sport.
Yeah. I guess like one of the things we want to ask is like both of your like introduction to the sport and where it's heading now. So in like track cycling, it's a bit of a controversial question, but we always get asked like if Chris Hoy was in the sport today, how would he do? And I'm kind of thinking, well, he had the like attitude to be able to go faster, but the times have gone so much quicker since he was in the sport. So like, I don't know, to get a bit nerdy about it, 10.0 used to be a really impressive time, and now people are bashing out 10.2s, 10.3s, 9.3s, 9.2s and things like that. So I'm pretty happy I'm out of it, but Phil's struggling. So has the sport continued to progress in that sense? Are we seeing like amazing lifts compared to when, especially Sam, when you started in CrossFit?
Yeah, it's definitely, like I was saying before, the first event that I had at the games in 2010 was like snatches it was like 43 kilos, and that was like pretty much my 1 rep max at the time. And like now we do workouts, and you're expecting to do multiple reps at between like 60 and 70 kilos for a female. The guys are expecting to do multiple reps at like 100 kilos. And you're getting females in the sport like Mia, who's like snatching 104?
104, yeah.
104 kilos. Yeah. And it's like at the time when I first started in 2010, a guy would be so happy to get over 100 kilos. That would be kind of like their aim. They've made it. They're like, oh, I'm a athlete now. I can snatch 100 kilos, and now it's commonplace that the top females are snatching over 100 kilos.
It's very similar to cycling, where now the girls are doing times the guys did maybe like 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah. Well, that's the time period. It was like 2010, like compared to like now we're approaching the 2020 season, and it's like it's just taken that time that the people are just getting stronger and faster, so the events are having to change to challenge people more, to showcase that.
Do you think it's more the reason because the sport has become more professional as well?
Yeah, definitely, and it's attracts more people, and the more people that are attracted to the sport, you're going to get those who are genetically gifted and trained in previous other sports who are stronger or faster, and then it forces those who are already in the sport to up their game to try and compete against them to try and get stronger and faster.
In the weightlifting gym we trained in Australia, in Brisbane.
Cougars.
Yeah, Cougars gym. One of the girls that started lifting there was a member of the club. She done the CrossFit Games, and she also did the Olympics in weightlifting. What's her name? She did Olympics in weightlifting, and then did CrossFit Games.
Yeah, was that Tia?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So we train in her gym. So you see some guys from Olympic sports now.
Yeah, it's a good crossover.
Or weightlifting going into
CrossFit.
So
Tia, who's won the games the last 3 years, took gold at the Commonwealth in lifting, and she lifted at Rio.
Yeah,
it's amazing. I also want to touch on like what it means to be a professional kind of CrossFit athlete, I guess, because for us it's fairly simple with lottery funding. So we get a set amount given by the lottery, and it's based on performance and stuff like that. But you guys are obviously purely commercial. And then Emma, obviously you're doing other bits and pieces with PTing and things like that. And Sam, I know you like to be busy, but you've got other kind of ventures on the go as well. Like, does it always have to be a bit of give and take, or is there solely professional CrossFit athletes out there? And if they are they relying purely on prize money, or is it commercial partnerships as well?
Sponsorship.
Always sponsorship. Yeah.
There's a few athletes that are in the position with sponsorships that they don't have to do anything else. They can train full time, and then there's other athletes where their lifestyle will be supplemented with sponsorships. And you'll find that the majority of those will then supplement that with either coaching in a gym or something similar to that, where they can choose their hours, and they're already in the gym training, so it might just be an extra 1 or 2 hours on top of that.
Has the introduction of professional athletes changed the sport, in your opinion, at all? Because I think some with the introduction with lottery funding, a lot of people have felt that maybe like there's not big money to be made in lottery, but it's become a bit more about the money and a little bit less about doing the sport because you love it. So I guess when you started, it was hard to make ends meet as a professional.
That's why I was a firefighter at the same.
Yeah.
I was a full-time firefighter. We opened up this gym, and I was coaching any spare hours, and then I was trying to train full-time as well.
And doing nights as well.
Yeah. So it was pretty busy at that time.
Yeah.
But I definitely wouldn't be able to sustain that now and be able to compete at the level that's required at the games now. At the time, a lot of people would have secondary jobs and would be training on top of that, and I suppose that shows you the level that the competitors were. And then as more money came into the sport and people were doing it then as a full-time career, that's like we were saying about how the levels have been raised. And so without that professionalism coming into the sport, we wouldn't have seen the growth and improvement in the sport.
I think one of the things I think our listeners would be really interested in, and please don't take offense to this, but is like kind of your longevity as an athlete. The fact that you're, if you want to tell us your age, you can. If not, that's fine. I always feel a bit awkward at this situation.
I'm 37.
37, okay.
Think.
I always forget.
You said you were 21 earlier, or 26.
No,
that was it. Yeah.
I wish.
But like. That's an incredible kind of achievement to still be kind of pushing boundaries at that age. I guess. And so what do you put that down to? Like, is it kind of the overcoming injuries? Is it the party atmosphere when you're younger? Is it just kind of giving everything a go when you're younger? Like, what do you put that success down to?
I sleep 10 to 12 hours a night.
12 hours.
It's nearly her bedtime.
Is it?
It is, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
I think different things. I definitely try and take care of my body. Definitely recovery, and just it comes down to, I think, like you were saying about the variety that's in CrossFit. Because you're not specializing in one area, you're not beating down one set of particular muscles or one domain, or like you're in one plane. So even though I have had injuries in the sport, I think if you're going to compete like I have for 10 years at the top of a sport, you are going to get injured. It's part and parcel. But I've been able to bounce back from these injuries just by being smart, training smart, looking after myself, and recovery is definitely key.
Would you say you've always looked after yourself as an athlete, or has there definitely been times when you've pushed too far? We had a laugh there, by the way. So maybe there's a.
I think there's been times when I've pushed too far, and I definitely think, especially in the early stages of my career, and I think that's why I had the injury and had to pull out from the games in 2012. I was pushing through when I shouldn't have been pushing through. When I think she was laughing because when I broke my elbow, we strapped it up.
Strapped up a broken elbow.
And she judged me.
Strapping can fix a lot. But.
Yeah, she judged me, and I did the qualifiers to go to the Masters Games. I was having surgery the next day.
It's so like, it's totally fine then, yeah.
It's like, it'll be fine. If I can get through it, it'll be fine because it's getting fixed tomorrow.
Do you still wake up in the morning sometimes, like with a sore back or something, and then you just foam roll a little bit and then it's fine? Or you just wake up with nothing?
Our coach didn't let us foam roll. No, I tend to be fine. You have like little niggles. Like I said, like my knee's been a little bit bad at the moment. Yeah. So you just adjust training and make sure you get treatment. And that's why my coach was here. He was working with me last night and today to look at why my knee's hurting. And so he's assessing my movement to see why am I moving incorrectly that it's causing me to have pain. Because if I was moving correctly, there shouldn't be any like joint pain. So it's tightness in my hip causing me to shift over to the left, causing more weight to go through the left knee. So I'm having knee pain. So he's going to correct that over the next couple of days, and then next week hopefully I'll be squatting pain free.
Does he write your training programs as well?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, for both of you.
Yeah.
Oh. And a bit of strapping for that knee and you'll be fine. It sounds like
it's all good.
You must have a really good physio as well. I guess when so still talking about longevity, I noticed something quite interesting when we were off air. That always sounds a bit wanky, but I'll say it anyway. That you're a vegan at the moment as well, or have been for some time. But not strict vegan anymore. Is that something that's down to your like longevity as well, or what was your reasoning for kind of going down that path?
I think you always have to like experiment with things, and nutrition's something that you can always look into. When you're trying to make marginal gains, something like nutrition could go a long way. And I was just having some digestion issues, and we went completely vegan for 3 months, just cut everything out, kind of a reset, and then added a few things in, and I just didn't fancy eating meat after like cutting it out. And it was only recently, probably about 2-3 months ago, I started adding fish back in. Really enjoyed that back in my diet, and it was actually only 2 weeks ago that I had meat for the first time.
Oh, really? And did your body kind of go into shock when it had meat for the first time? Because a lot of vegans say that when they slip up, they end up with a lot of stomach issues after that.
I was completely fine. The only thing that I found, so I don't want to eat during the day meat. I had some chicken. It just felt really heavy. Whereas if I have a vegan meal during the day, I'm good to go on my next training session, not belching anything back up.
Phil, you're a big belcher.
So it could be the meat.
It could be the meat, yeah.
Could be.
It's not your spasming tummy, it's the meat.
Yeah, I have like proper problems with if I do a hard effort, like throwing up.
Yeah.
So I throw up like on a race day probably 4 times.
Yeah.
Until like
disgusting.
settles. Yeah, it's horrible. Like I'm scared of racing because I'm throwing up. I'm scared of training because I know I'm gonna throw up. So it's probably not good for your head. But
Phil's set up a competition is always like his shoes, his helmet, and a bin bag just in case. Just in
I
case
need
it's
to have
gonna
a bin
come
bag
back up.
after I come down from my bike just to make sure I'm safe.
So maybe you should try like
Yeah.
plant-based during the day, just have like meat at night.
Yeah, some things. So gluten isn't good for me. So if I just eat no gluten or just porridge for example, I'm fine. It's what I found out recently.
It's becoming a bigger thing, I think. But I'd say the kind of newer sports like kind of CrossFit, X Games, ultra endurance athletes and stuff like that are more open to it. Because can you think of any athletes in the Olympic system that are vegan at the moment? I guess
Lizzie Armitstead. Oh,
She's
she's
vegan.
vegetarian.
Vegetarian, yeah.
I don't know anyone.
But it's like what you were saying after the Commonwealth Games, the food.
Yeah, after the eating in the training hall for 3 weeks, I came home and that's what put me off meat. It was just like how greasy it was, and my skin was really bad, my stomach was really bad, and that's what put me vegan. And then I just realised it actually worked better for me. So I'm kind of the same as Sam, just introducing small things back into my diet, and it's not going well. So I think, unfortunately, I'm going to be stuck vegan, I think.
Do you supplement with like protein shakes to get your protein in, or?
Like I would have quite a lot of quinoa, so that's quite high in protein. So I don't really have an issue, getting the protein sources in that way.
This is where I feel really embarrassed that I did a Usain Bolt and had a McDonald's before the Olympic final.
Yeah.
If we're complaining about greasy food hall, I thought the food hall was amazing.
No,
No, not a fan.
I didn't. My skin and everything in my stomach, I ended up going up like 3.5 kilos whenever I was trying to stay at 63 kilos for a weight class. So it wasn't ideal for me. No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh jeez. Well, there's no more free McDonald's at the Olympics anyway because they've cut it, unfortunately.
Well, you also had he was racing his teammate in the final.
Yeah, we both had McDonald's together, so
they
we
both had McDonald's together, so it was fair.
went down together. Yeah. I feel like really. I feel
Something that we'd do.
you do the same.
We'd do something like that.
We'd do something
We've got to go
stupid.
against each other. Okay, we've got to do this first.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the final points, which I think is quite nice about having both of you guys in here. Is maybe the camaraderie element of CrossFit. Is that something? So obviously, both of you have done different sports. Do you find that CrossFit's quite a friendly environment? It's like you save your competitive side for when you're competing, I guess, and off the field of competition or whatever. It's very much friends.
Yeah, I'd say that like through CrossFit, I've made some like really good friends that I'll stay with me for life. I'm going over to Australia in January, and I'm going to be staying with Cara Saunders, or used to be Cara Webb. It's like I've stayed with her. This will be the 3rd time that I've been to Australia, and she's put me up in her house.
Really?
And she's been my competitor since 2013.
And there's no kind of looking over the shoulder, seeing what you're eating, or is it all just pretty much an open book? It's
No,
like, this is what
it's-
I'm doing,
yeah.
and you're free to join.
It's all cool. It's like she opened up a house for me. She's like, you can't get a hotel, come and stay with me. But that's what it's like. We have a laugh backstage, and it's kind of relaxed in training. And then when we need to, that's when the switch flicks, and you're like, right, okay, now I've got to try and beat you. And then afterwards, it's like, now we can have a drink with each other.
I think that's something that's been like totally alien to most Olympic sports. Like we're very much like, you can come down and sit in the stands, but it's very much a closed shop.
The thing is similar to this, like in BMXing, I see they get invited with their or they invite different teams to train with them because it helps them to train. But with Olympic cycling or cycling teams in general, is you don't see.
Because I remember we had a few Aussies on the track once, and everyone like almost lost their shit. They were like,
what
are they doing here? What do they want to find out? And all
it's
this kind
very
of stuff.
separate.
Yeah, but I think I went to train with the Aussies. I think it's something that we need to incorporate more, because I went and trained with the Aussies after the Olympics for a little while, and they were very much an open door. And I think that's something that's maybe missing from our sport, is that, so do you ever feel like that's a disadvantage, or do you feel that's an advantage?
I think
that other people, you share your training so
yeah,
publicly.
I don't think there should be like secrets. Like for me, if somebody's better than me, I want to train with them and try get better. And it's equally that I would welcome people to come and train with me. who may not be at that level yet, but if they train with me and get better, they're only going to push me to get better again. So it's not like you shouldn't fear somebody becoming to your level, because it can only force you to work harder to still try and beat them.
I think personally we don't. It's just never been facilitated, I guess. I mean, like sometimes the internal competition within the team is definitely there. So in the lead up to the last Olympics, I was chasing you and Jason, and that was a great thing because those two were faster than me, and I had to be as fast as them.
Yeah.
So we still got that chasing element, and sometimes the competition just to get the jersey can be harder than actually getting to the start line.
Yeah.
But no, I'm a big believer in kind of having a bit more of an open book and sharing and collaborating and all that kind of thing. Yeah. So I guess it'd be really good as we start to kind of wind up. It'd be really good to hear like what's up next for you guys. Like what does the future hold, I guess?
Well, we've got Opens in 3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, so our qualification period starts in 3 weeks.
Okay.
And then we're both doing a comp in November in Dublin.
Filthy 150.
And then I've got Dubai in December.
I'm going to get drunk in Tenerife in December.
Are you on for total blowouts then?
That's her off season. Her off season is December. I'm competing in December, but then I'm in New Zealand for a wedding, so I'll be having my beer in
New Zealand.
I'll be in New Zealand in January for my downtime.
Because I think that's something I try to offer advice to a lot of athletes is like I see them doing downtime. I'm like, you're not doing it properly. Like you're sober for 50% of the time. That to up that a bit more.
I overdone mine the last time, so I probably won't be drinking this time. Oh, no. Sam seen my hangover.
After the games, we went out with a few of the guys who see PTs who are all like quad racers and bike racers, and the next day she was meant to take me to the airport. I got up, I was doing cardio in the morning. She has like a garage gym, so I went out into the gym and I was doing some cardio, and I heard the door open and I was like, she's joining me for cardio. I'm like, surprised. She was a bit drunk last night, and she only came in, what time are you flying? Okay, and walked back out, and then her mother-in-law ended up having to take me to the airport. Oh, no. Every time she got up off the sofa, she had to be sick.
There's nothing worse than that. Nothing worse.
Yeah, so I'll probably be drinking water off season this time. But
you get a few beers in you or drinks.
Give it 2 days and that beer will look pretty tempting.
I had like a 12-day hangover, so I don't think I will. I can give myself alcohol poisoning.
That's smashing. But thanks very much, guys, for coming on, and like we wish you all the best with all the projects you're coming up, especially Tenerife. Don't hold back. Get stuck in, please. So you guys are welcome to like push any of the sponsors you might have, or give any shout outs to Twitter handles and social media handles,
gyms
maybe like as well, or gyms.
Well, we're at Train Manchester right now. Anybody wants to check out CrossFit?
Okay. Come
on down. We've got 2 locations. The one in the city centre, Castlefields, and the other one by the airport, Heald Green.
Okay.
My Instagram, biceps like Briggs.
Nice, like it.
McQuaid 175.
And you do some PTing as well, if people want to get a bit of coaching, or you're not taking any new clients, especially not off the back of.
You do online programming?
Online programming. So the daily grind. So 1-to-1 coaching for beginners right up to competitors.
I wonder if our coach came here when he did CrossFit. Scott. Remember he did it for like a week?
Yeah. I think he came here, yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, right,
Scott, yeah, Scott Pollock, our weightlifting coach.
Keep an eye out for him. Yeah. So again, this feels a little bit unnatural, but I'm going to do the advert again. So
if you want a good night's sleep, longevity in the sport like I've lasted.
Oh, this is amazing. I was thinking I'm going to have to manufacture it all
10
next
to
week.
12 hours sleep.
I've got just the mattress for you. So Temper, a mattress like no other. Use code cycling100 for up to £100 off a Temper mattress. Visit www.temper.co.uk to redeem. As I said, we're going to be at the Cycling World Championships in Harrogate next week by the Prince of Wales roundabout. Temper sponsoring it, as are La Mazzocco and North Star Loast. Phil's going to be there. I'm going to be there. We're going to have other guests as well. You guys are more than welcome, but given the 8 o'clock bedtime, maybe that's not feasible. So yeah, tune in next week. We're going to be putting out a lot of podcasts next week. It's going to be a separate series of
we've got like 7 or 8 people confirmed already. So
you're going to tease us a few names.
We've got complete right now.
I've got 8 people confirmed.
You're head of bookings.
So we've got Owen do Lawless Force podcast special, or Vuelta special. Gab's got like Colin Sturgis.
Interestingly, we've got Alan Murchison coming on.
Alan Murchison, Michelin star chef,
but now the Team GB chef.
Also our British cycling.
Also very anti-vegan, so we're going to have some points to come back at him on that one.
Is he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, it's literally the first page in his book, which he tweeted about and told everyone to buy.
Yeah, he also told me mushrooms had nothing in them. So
no, but you've got a big thing about mushrooms.
Yeah, let's not talk about
it. So thank you very much, guys, for coming on, and tune in next week. Thanks.
Right, thanks.